Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So what's next for David Benavidez if he can't get Canelo, which he's not going to get him anytime soon? What's next for David Benavidez? We talked about him fighting at 168. It looks to me the realistic fight would probably be Demetrius Andrade. But Demetrius Andrade didn't really look good in his debut at 168. We talk about Jamal Charlo. A lot of people, well, I'll tell you what, opinions are split. Some people feel, hey, look, Jamal Charlo has a shot. Other people feel that he's too small, he's too inactive, and that he's only fought smaller opponents. To that, I say, you know what, there's some truth to that, but at the same time, hold your horses. David Benavidez is on his way, but he's not invincible. The same way people are right here jumping on the bandwagon about David Benavidez being invincible, the Mexican monster, and he's beating everybody right now, right? That's what they said about Mike Tyson, man. We all know about this guy Buster Douglas who came along, okay? So hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid, right? Anybody's beatable, okay? And the best fighter doesn't win the fight. It's the fighter who boxes the best on that night. So hold your horses. Don't take it to the stupid, right? I'm not biased to anyone. Most of y'all out here, when I hear y'all talk, boy, well, I'm telling you what, man, the bandwagonism is real. But at the end of the day, when we're looking at fights at 168 for David Benavidez, I just honestly feel like a guy like David Benavidez, the position that he's in, he needs to be moving up the ladder and not reversing, right? That's what it is about boxing. But sometimes when you're trying to move up that ladder, you're going to come across certain impediments, right? There's going to be a lot of lateral accomplishments. And that's where you're going to see him having to fight maybe a guy like Jamal who went to the Caleb Plant Benavidez fight to scout. He was scoping. He was out there eyeballing because he was looking at a potential opponent. Benavidez a Plant. Plant lost. Now, Jamal definitely has to get active. You know what I'm saying? I think he needs 2 or 3 fights before he even thinks about getting into it, any of those guys. But at the end of the day, let's not act like Jamal doesn't have a chance. So that being said, David Benavidez, we looked at some potential fights for him at 175, but at the end of the day, it's going to suck for him because he's not getting what he wants. So for him to go ahead and bubble up to 175, that really may be a more realistic an option for him, because sitting around being a mandatory, trying to deal with this whole the sanctioning bodies, man. Let me tell you. WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO, they have a symbiotic relationship, right? They're going to do what's best, in this case, for Canelo. Canelo has all the flexibility in the world to do what he wants, right? And that doesn't necessarily fit in line with David Benavidez's goals. And I tell you what, although there's a mandatory there for David Benavidez as a WBC, I just don't see. Well, I can see the WBC alleviating that mandatory off of Canelo for several months until Canelo can get out here and do what it is that he wants. Canelo runs shit, man. That's no secret. Look how this man moved up and down weight divisions and picked up all these different titles, man. I'm not getting me wrong, he put the work in, but let's be honest here, right? There's a little bit more to it, but Canelo put the work in. But at 175, I honestly think a realistic fight for David Benavidez, because I really think that's the next move he should make. If he's not going to, Morrell and those guys, man, I think Morrell would rather hang around and try to wait for his opportunity to fight Canelo. But if Morrell's not going to fight him, look, man, and if he can't pick up a big name, like, I don't care what anyone says, I think majority of us would agree Morrell would probably be a bigger threat because of his size and power and just his experience. And although he has a limited professional record, the man has an expanded amateur background and he can fight, right? I think the bigger name is Jamal Charlo, right? So that matters if he can pick up a name. But then again, they're going to say Jamal's smaller than him. But Jamal, that man's just about equal in size. And he can put 8 pounds, ain't nothing but a damn bottle of water and a goddamn sandwich. With some duck sauce on it. So let's not act like 8 pounds is a lot. Get out of here. But at 175, I think if David Benavidez was to go to 175 to try to get his feet wet, I think he should fight Pascal. Why not Pascal? That's a big name, former champion. Pascal's athletic. He just lost. Pascal will jump at that, and I think David Benavidez can make some good money. But we know Benavidez and Bivol, they've done a lot of sparring. Benavidez has gone on record and said that, Bivol knows what's happened in those sparring matches. So I'm not a guy who's into assuming, but I'll just take that as Benavidez is suggesting he got the best of Bivol. Now, Beterbiev and Bivol, that's the fight to make. I don't think they're going to risk Bivol losing his title to Benavidez or Beterbiev losing his titles to a guy like Benavidez. The goal is to make that fight. Bivol's supposed to be fighting Munguia next. After that, it should be going into the fight with Beterbiev. But we'll have to wait and see, how the dust settles. But I think in the interim, it'll be outstanding for David Benavidez if he's like, you know what, I'm not going to sit here, keep killing myself to make this 168, even though I got a strength and conditioning coach who can get me across the line. Let me just bubble up to 175 and test the waters. But when he goes up there, who's he going to fight? Boazzi, 16-0? Boazzi's not going to get in the ring with no damn David Benavidez. Yardy, he may. But Yardy's is a big boy. But if Benavidez can get in there and handle Yardy, maybe he gets in there but I really think the guy for him to fight is either Joe Smith Jr. or Pascal at 175. Joe Smith Jr. is a well-known name. He's not a huge name, but we know who he is. And he's a former champion, and Joe Smith Jr. can fight. And when you start coming down here and looking at the rankings, Joe Smith Jr. in the WBO, let me just show you this. Okay? So you can look right here and see. Let me move this over for you. A guy like Joe Smith Jr. is ranked number 5 under the WBO, number 4 under the IBF, number 4 under the WBC, and number 5 under the WBA. I think Joe Smith Jr. is an excellent opponent for David Benavidez, right? Smith Jr. has been kind of quiet, but what a fight that would be, because Smith Jr. isn't a guy who's going to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. He's going to hold his ground, and he could crack. And this is really going to tell us a whole lot about Benavidez. Don't get me wrong. I think Benavidez can get to 175 and handle himself. But he's going to be in there with somebody who's going to give him the fight that he likes, toe-to-toe. We know Benavidez is more than a slugger. He's more than a brawler. But that's what he likes. He likes to be in a firefight. Joel Smith Jr. is going to give him that. Now, the other name that I was talking about was Pascal. Look at where Pascal is racking stacked. And look at the WBO. Look at the update. 21 March 2023. So these are recent rankings, man. Although Pascal just recently lost, I still think that's a good fight for him. He's a seasoned vet. Throw him into a Pascal. He's ranked number 3 in the WBO, number 3 in the IBF. Where is he at over here? See if we can find old Pascal for the WBC. Okay, they don't have him ranked in the WBC. And then we look over here in the WBA. He's not ranked in the WBA. But at the end of the day, old Pascal is ranked in 2 of the sanctioning bodies, fairly high, and I think that's a pretty good measuring stick for a guy like Benavidez if he's going to go to 175, because he's not going to get an immediate shot at Beterbiev or Bivol because those guys are busy and they're working towards the undisputed. But another possible option for him would be for him to go and fight a guy like Liam Smith. Liam Smith is an option. He could Zurdo Ramirez. I just don't think that fight makes any sense. I don't think De La Hoya put Zurdo Ramirez in it with David Benavidez. I think David Benavidez would destroy Zurdo Ramirez. Zurdo Ramirez and his record coming out of Mexico, I just not making weight for what's his name, Alvarado. I mean, Gabe Rosado, not making weight for Gabe Rosado. I just think Ramirez would be way over his head if Benavidez bubbled up to 175 and challenged him. So realistically, when we look at it, the 2 names that jump out to me, that's not going to be an easy fight for Benavidez, but really show what he's made of. It will help to boost his profile if he gets up there and eclipse one of these former champions, a Pascal or a Smith Jr. And that's what I would like to see next for David Benavidez. However, at this time, it's like every week there's like a seismic shift and each division. You know what I mean? You sit here one day, you're talking boxing, you're talking about this fight and what they're saying, what the team's saying, and what we're expecting to materialize fight-wise, and then you find out that shit flanks left, then it comes back and it flanks right, then it does an about face, you know what I mean? Then it does a forward march. It's like, yo, what direction are we going here? It almost makes you, reluctant to come out here and talk boxing. You know what I'm saying? But that being said, David Benavidez, yo, he got to do something next. And we could sit here and go back and forth all day about, well, we shouldn't talk about fantasy matchups and we shouldn't do this. We shouldn't say that. If you come to this boxing channel, look, man, take that conversation elsewhere. We have conversations here. And if you see it as a fantasy matchup, what we talk about on this channel, I mean, that's fine. But if you don't want to hear it, go somewhere else where guys are cussing and disrespecting each other and just acting their shoe size. We don't do that here. We respect everyone's opinion. And I'm going to tell you right now, having a 160-pounder bubble up to 168 to fight Benavidez, that's not a damn fantasy matchup. All right? That's a sandwich and a bottle of water with some duck sauce on it. Simple. So quit acting like it's such a big deal. When, most of these guys who are getting down to 168, 160, those guys walk around like damn rhinoceroses, man, 200 plus pounds. You know what I mean? And for those of you saying, no, that's not true, I'm going to tell you, I used to walk around at 205, cut down to 160. Easy. So get out of here with that. I'm not a guy just out here talking out my ass. I know what it is to cut that damn weight, right? Easy. You got to, a lot of tuna. Back then when it was tuna fish, tomatoes, cucumbers, road work, and working out. Running twice a day sometimes, man. So don't get out of here with that, right? We all have a different lens. I respect everyone's opinion, but to sit here and suggest when I was going from 200, and of course I didn't fight as a pro, but I'd had some amateur fights and I did a whole lot of sparring. But to come down to 168 is the sweet spot. Getting down to 160 is the coach's desire. It's like, man, you're gonna kill me getting down there, but we get down there. All right. So to me, the 8 pounds it can be a big difference if you got a guy who's like melting all the way down from like 210, and then balloons way the hell up, with the rehydration, rehydrating way the hell up, then it can be a bit of an issue. But at the end of the day, man, it's not, in my opinion, right? I'm not speaking facts, I'm speaking opinion on this. I don't think it's that big of a deal because most guys are probably more comfortable at 168 opposed to 160. For those who are really big guys who are melting down. Now, if you're a guy who walks around at 175 or so, I mean, yeah, then that's a bit of an issue because you're not really melting off too much weight. And then when you rehydrate, you're probably not going up but a few pounds. So that's probably more like your natural weight anyway. And that could be a bit of an issue. But at the end of the day, David Benavidez, he got to figure something out. And I think, matter of fact, let me come back down here because I don't even think we talked about it. So when you take a look at the 168-pound division, right? Throw Canelo, just throw him in the breeze. Ryder, Morrell, that would be the ideal fight for Benavidez. They don't have his face on here, but something y'all need to understand. You see who's that number one right here for the WBO is Demetrius Andrade. Okay, Demetrius Andrade, man, is bubbling up in the rankings. Okay, and when we come over here and we take a look at the IBF, and this is what sucks about this, is when you look at the IBF, Demetrius Andrade's nowhere on there. But then you come over here to the WBC, Demetrius Andrade's ranked number 5. And then you come on over here to the, let me make this a little bit smaller for you. Then you come on over here, you see that Demetrius Andrade's ranked number 2 by the WBA. So with just knowing how this rack and stack across the sanctioning bodies, Andrade's ranked number 1. Andrade's ranked number 5 in the WBC, and he's ranked number 2. So really, when you look at it, Demetrius Andrade, let me tell you something. Demetrius Andrade is probably the front runner to get the fight. Okay, simple. But if Benavidez doesn't want to fight Andrade, or Andrade's team doesn't want to fight him, I'm gonna tell you right now, Demetrius Andrade will fight anyone. But I know his team is gonna sit there and be very careful about what they're doing, putting him in with Benavidez, knowing that could reset Demetrius Andrade's career. You know what I mean? He loses to Benavidez, especially if he gets beat down, which I got to give Demetrius Andrade a better chance. I don't know, man. I may just save that for another video. I think I'm going to save that for another video. I'm going to do it after this one. But what I will say is, Demetrius Andrade has two hands. I think Caleb Plant's a one-arm fighter, to be honest with you, because he's left-handed naturally, and he fights as a southpaw. He fights as an orthodox stance, so he uses his left hand to do everything, jab, hook, everything. He has no power in that right hand coming for the straight right. That's what Caleb Plant, if you could take his left hand from him to Caleb, he just basically have a target sitting in front of you. And Demetrius Andrade, he has both arms, but, he's left hand crazy. But he's so unorthodox and wild. I could see him, him and Benavidez tripping and falling and rolling around the damn ring because Demetrius Andrade is so damn flagrant and wild with his style. Yet he is effective, but we'll see. We'll see. But that being said, leave your comments below. But I think realistically, the fights to be made for David Benavidez will be Andrade because he's available and he wants big fights. Will he get that? I'm not sure Andrade's team's going to throw him in there. I don't know, but that would be a big fight. Jamal Charlo is not an option right now. You got to put some work in and get back active. And then at 175 would be Joe Smith or Pascal. Outside of those three, I don't know who the hell David Benavidez is going to fight. Just being real with you. You know what I'm saying? Who is Benavidez going to fight? Somebody was talking about who's category. Like, get out of here, man. Benavidez he got to move up the ladder, not reverse. And if you're going to stay busy, you don't want to stay busy against somebody that Caleb Plant beat already. They'll rake Benavidez across the coals if Benavidez goes and fights who's category. Get out of here, man. So he definitely got to get himself in there with someone who's probably more like him, man. Either an undefeated fighter at 168 or go to 175 and fight a guy who's a former champion. Get his feet wet. And then, and then maybe fight another time. By then, Bivol and Benavidez would have sorted things out. And maybe he can go straight into a fight with those guys. And by then, Canelo would have had himself a couple fights. And then maybe Canelo looks to fight him. But Benavidez has to definitely get a couple more fights in before he even looks to get at Canelo or Bivol or Benavidez. And he has to do it to stay busy, because if not, he's just going to be waiting around to get idle. Then he's going to be in a Jamal Charlo situation where he's inactive. And when you come off of a performance like what he had with Caleb Plant, last thing you want to do is be sidelined for 6 months to a year. Like, that's career suicide. Mexican monster doesn't need to go back in the closet. He needs to stay out. Everyone knows there's a monster running around, lurking. He needs to make his presence felt by staying active. Simple. But that being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. But I think Benavidez, 168, it's Andrade. As of right now, I think it's Andrade. And then at 175, I think it's Joe Smith Jr. and Pascal. Those are the fights to make, in my opinion. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Put no duck sauce on the fried rice. I'm in the breeze.